Sounds good.
Okay. All right. Well, welcome to our second week about distraction. And so we're going to talk about today is just how easily our mind can go from one thing to another. And we talked a little bit about it last week, but we'll really delve into it. So distraction can actually be a really good thing, but it can also be a negative thing if it's working against you. So we use distraction a lot when it comes, I teach a chronic pain class. And so we use distraction to distract our bodies from the chronic pain, and it works really well. And there's evidence, a lot of evidence behind it that it works. But then on the flip side, if we don't want to be distracted about something and we really want to focus and we're distracted, then that can have a negative side to it as well. So we'll kind of get into a little bit of both. So here, it says modern workplace distractions, but actually this could be anywhere, anytime, and just we have noticed, and when we look at the research, it shows that that since cell phones and the advent of cell phones and everything, there's so much different things that you can do on your cell phone. We have noticed an increase in depression and anxiety, and we have the world at our fingertips now, and it's just so different. And have you ever went to your phone to make a quick text to someone, and by the time you actually turned your phone on and flipped through all your apps, you got distracted and ended up somewhere else that you didn't want to be, and then 20 minutes later, what am I doing on my phone? Why? Oh, you walk away and then you remember, oh, I was supposed to text someone that should have taken 2 seconds, and now 20 minutes later I'm on some other realm. And we hear that all the time. And we know that, at the workplace or at home, there's just so many different distractions. And so you can see here, there's a, computer, and looks like a BlackBerry, and a cell phone, and work, and schedules, and home schedules. And there's just really a lot of different things that you can do. So these are some pretty cool statistics. Well, cool, but just to know. So the average worker, if you're at work or even at home, or if you're working on some computer stuff, changes windows on the computer 37 times an hour. That is definitely a lot when you're working on different things like emails and projects and anything that has to do with the telephone or with computer, I meant. And there's definitely so many different things, like between human factors and digital distractions, there's typically 3 minutes of constant focus before another interruption occurs. And so this can be at work or at home or wherever you're at. If you're trying to focus on one thing, you are interrupted every 3 minutes. And that can be really tough. And how easy is it if you're doing something like computer or at home and you really want to focus on it, and the chimes on your phone, how easy it is to just walk up to it and try to take a look at it, and instead of just continuing to focus on what you were doing. It's really hard. And not only that, but we hear that chime and we're like, oh, I'm not going to pick it up right now. But the thought that it chimed and I got to get to it is in our mind. And so it's good to know about this. So once you're interrupted, it can take up to 23 minutes to regain focus on what you were doing. So that is amazing. 23 minutes. So you're focused on something, you're interrupted. It can take you a while to regain that focus and really get back into that project, or whatever it is. And we know when we're looking at the workplace, for example, that businesses can lose 20 or 100 $10,000 plus a year, or per employee a year. And that is, that's definitely a lot. So we're less productive. So today I'm going to show you some things, not only at work, but at home, anything that you're doing to help you kind of regain distraction, not only to regain it, but then what are some tips that you can do for your own mind and body that can really help you focus? And we know it doesn't have to be that way, so we'll go through that. And so why does this matter? You know, distractions really prevent you from getting your work done and much more. So that's not even, I know it says like employee, but you know, we look at all of this along the whole realm of life. So if you consider yourself an employee at home, you know, I'm not using that term like you are an employee, but just thinking about all the stuff you want to get done at home and your hobbies and different things that you like to do and what you need to get done around the house and you know, being a parent or a child, or you know, wherever you fall in that, you know, we do have lots of responsibilities that we'd like to be very productive over. And so not only at work, but at home. So we know that distraction causes a loss of productivity, and that loss of productivity can definitely cause stress. And then we tend to be very unhappy. And then that when we're under stress, that really affects that mind-body connection. It really affects our body as well, and can cause a lot of chronic illnesses and diseases. So we end up being very unhappy and unhealthy just in our work life and our home life. So today we will identify distractors and then really learn some tips and exercises to subdue distraction and help increase productivity. And then we'll really talk about creating a customized plan to address your needs, and then hopefully you'll come away with some small nuggets of aha moments where it's like, okay, you know, if I do this, this will help my brain focus a little bit more. So the first thing to do is just really identify your distractors, and it can be so many different things. It can be not only your work environment, but your home environment as well. Like, are you situating your work in your home environment to be as productive as you can? Do you have a lot of clutter around? Are you organized? And And so it really takes a lot of awareness and reflection to say, okay, is my environment conducive for me to work well in all aspects, in all areas of my life? And, you know, if the answer is yes, you know, I'm organized and uncluttered, then we can kind of move on to kind of see what else. We definitely have an epidemic of overwhelmed. We are, in our society, we tend to be a very yes centered culture where we need to say yes to everything, and until we can't anymore, until we just kind of burn out. And when we get to that burnout phase, then we're saying no to everything, even things that we care about. So we tend to be very overwhelmed in everything that we're doing, and we just kind of keep adding more and more to our plates. And then coworkers, they can definitely be a distractor. So you can put that as like workplace, but also at home. You know, other family members, friends, who else is distracting you in your home and your work life. And then sometimes it can be a good distraction to have a friend or family member distract you to kind of get away and do something different. And we'll talk about that. And then self-distracting. Are you easily distracted, and how do you distract yourself? So it's really good to identify your distractors so that you can make a plan around it. So we're looking at, you know, when you're at work, are you able to focus on work and, you know, get your job done and feel good about it and feel as productive as you can? And you know, we definitely make sure that we don't push through breaks, and we're not pushing through lunch. That can be very dangerous. We definitely need to be taking our breaks and our lunch to really be able to refocus and to be able to be our most productive as we can. And some people will work right through those and through those breaks and lunch, thinking that they're being a good employee and they're doing a good job. And even at home, we just stay busy all day. But we know research shows that we'll actually be more productive when we do take those breaks and have a little bit of downtime and rest. We'll increase our energy. So tips to counteract, not only at work but at home, is to reduce noise as much as possible. Not only office noise if you're at work or wherever you are, but also at home. Is there a lot going on? Do you have radio on at home? Is the TV constantly on? How busy is the street outside? Is there a lot of traffic noise? And then not only in the office, but at home, like ergonomic training. Uh, are you sitting up straight when you are sitting or resting, even to make sure that you're not only using correct posture with anything that you're doing. If you're, working on the farm, to make sure that you're not overusing your muscles, that kind of switch positions a lot, and stop and stretch every once in a while, and uh, maybe do a different job for a while. So that's so very important for our body to not get overused. And then using a desk lamp, if you do a lot of computer work, instead of especially if you work in the office and there's a lot of different types of lights, like fluorescent lights are really hard on the eyes. So using desk lamps to kind of lower that intake of light into the eyes. And then if you are working outside a lot, making sure that you have eye protection from the UV rays of the sun is very important for overall eye protection, because if our eyes aren't protected, it can cause us to be distracted, and it can cause some eye pain, and then it can actually be harder for us to stay really engaged and productive. Um, so working from home, I know a lot of people now with the COVID epidemic is they're working from home or doing different things. So there can be a lot of distractions when we work from home, and easier, like, oh, I'm at home, and if I was at work, I wouldn't worry about the dishes or the laundry. But I go to the bathroom and I notice that pile of laundry. It's easy to get distracted and do some home chores. Not that it can be a bad thing, because it can be a good break and a good productivity booster when you do take a short time to do something else. But we need to really be honest with it to make sure that we're as productive as we can be. And then, like I mentioned before, just organizing your space, home and work. Make sure you're putting things where they belong each time, and getting a really good organizational layout for you to be your most productive. So doing that weekly, or some people even have to do that daily if they're working on a lot of different projects. So another one was that epidemic of overwhelmed. So there's so much different things that we can get overwhelmed with, as I had mentioned before, with our phones, and not able, our lack of ability to say no. And so there's just so much stuff happening, and then it seems like things just kind of keep building and building. And we know that knowing about what's going on in the world is so very, very important. But oftentimes the way the news media outlets can bring information in, they can often over sensualize it, so or over sensationalize it, that's what I meant, and make it so much more emotional than it needs to be. So we want to definitely filter what's coming in, and being able to take care of ourselves during those times. And once you kind of get the gist of what's happening, turning off the news or putting away the newspaper, and walking outside and just being in that moment of in this moment, in my small little corner of the earth, everything's okay. And that can be hard to do, but it's really important for the brain to kind of get away from everything. So then you have more energy to do those things that are most important to you, and you can say yes to those things that you really want to do, and say no to those things that aren't important. So how can we counteract that? So definitely limit technical interruptions, turning off your different chimes on your phone, so that you can actually set aside some time to go into your phone, and even setting aside time for social media. There's nothing wrong with it, but when you are being controlled by it, and like you always have to kind of the research on how many times we actually touch our phone and per day, and it's amazing. So actually setting time, maybe 10 minutes, putting on a timer and saying, okay, that's it for the day, can be very, very empowering and powerful for your own productivity and time, and your just had to have that balance in your life. And the next one is to definitely identify best communication email practices. So oftentimes we know that when we check our emails, there's so many things, not only at work, but for work, and then at home and for personal life. Everyone tends to email nowadays, and we can get very, very overwhelmed. And so sometimes not everything has to be sent over an email. Maybe it could be a quick text or a quick call, just to kind of keep those emails at bay. Or, when is a good time for you to check your email? I know I have to have my email on my phone because, my kids are in sports, and just like tonight, my middle one had hockey practice, and he had dry land before, and it must be raining in Blaine, like downpouring, where he was just about to leave for dry land, and I got an email notification that it was canceled. And so it's important that I actually have that on my phone. It's recommended that you ban devices in meetings, at the dinner table, during family time, during friend time. Just, put it away. Everybody can then just enjoy face-to-face conversation. It's so very, very important. Um, and we know that the research shows, and I felt this too, like I'll go out to dinner with a friend, and she'll be on her phone the whole time. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, I'm just going to sit here and have dinner by myself then. And so that can be really hard. And we know that when we're looking at our phone, then the person next to us doesn't feel very important. So even if your phone is face down, it still can be a distraction. And so, definitely putting those things away if you can. And then the next one for being overwhelmed is to prioritize. Prioritize everything that you have to do and need to do in your day. And if you have a lot, then picking those top 3 things that you really want to get done that are very important to you. And that doesn't even necessarily mean the urgent things, but the most important to you. Or another way to look at it is really pick the low-hanging fruit, those things that will take maybe 3 seconds to 3 minutes to get done. Things that are really, really quick that you can just cross off. You start, finish, and done. Especially when you have a lot on your list, and it feels like it's overwhelming. Getting those few things off your list right away can really kind of delve into that overwhelming feeling, and you can get a lot done in like even half an hour, and that might be most of your list. And sometimes we put those little things off for so long that all of a sudden we have so much stuff to do, where if we would have done it right when we thought about it 2 weeks ago, it would have been done in 3 seconds or 3 minutes. So sometimes counterbalancing that overwhelmingness feeling with finishing those things up, and then limit the number of projects. Nothing has to get done in this moment. So what is the most important? What do you really need to get done in today or the next hour? And I really like to set a timer. Like if I have the dishes and laundry, and I have a work project to do, maybe even off my work day, but I really want to work on it, I'll just set the timer to say, okay, I'm just going to work on it for 20 minutes. And and then set the timer. And when the 20 minutes is over, it's over. So, um, and, and so these are some tips to counterbalance that. And then we can identify our distractors. So coworkers, supervisors, family members, kids, parents, wherever you are in your stage of life, who really distracts you. Um, so kind of thinking in terms of some time for you to get things done. How can you do that? So you can even do this at home, like have some office hours and really putting those barriers up and those strong, loving boundaries up in place to say, you know what, right now I really want to focus on my work, and and I don't want any distractions between 9 and noon. So I'm really going to work on my work. You can do that at home and you can do that on the job as well. And then quiet time, like, do you have the availability to put up a do not disturb sign? Um, we at work in our cube land, it's easy to just pop your head in and start talking. But so we have these little signs that say, um, like do not disturb, and we have yes, come and talk to me, so that people know that, when those signs are out, they know what we can do, if they can come talk to us or not. Wear headphones to kind of interrupt and mute the sound that's coming in, because sometimes you can focus even with sound, but sometimes it can be hard depending on where your mind is at. So wearing headphones, maybe with um, a certain tone or a certain type of music, can help you focus. And there are some types of music that are really, really great out there for really helping you focus. So if I have a project that I need to get done and I'm at work, I will put Tibetan singing bowls on, because the research shows that that works on the part of your brain that helps you really focus. And it's just something that works. It's amazing. It's kind of just on in the background, and I can just dive in and really focus on what needs to get done. And then there's another one, plus plus dash. And what that means is um, when you have somebody who's very distracting, and this can even be like a child of yours or a spouse or a friend, what you want to do is you want to have 2 positive things to say, and then the dash means that kind of your way out, like, thank you for this, you did a good job in that, and I'm gonna get back onto my project right now that I'm working on, because those 2 positives then kind of allow you to kind of get into more of like the negative of kind of pushing that person away so you can get back to work. And then the next one is just, even if the supervisor is you, or if if you're at home or the supervisor is your boss at work, just kind of keeping yourself um, or others that are at home kind of up to date, and then when you're at work, your supervisor, your manager, up to date on your progress at work as well. That can really help to limit the amount of distractions and people interrupting you, because they know what you're doing and where you are in that moment. And then, like, even if it's like a kid or a friend, you can say, well, this is what I'm doing right now, and I'm going to be working on this for another 45 minutes, and then we can talk at that time. So it definitely really helps to keep that communication line open. And then it's always good to set up some meetings, even in your home life. We kind of think of that as, setting up date night, doing different things, setting up things so that you have that, time to connect. So not even at home, but also at work. But you just don't want to have too many, because you want to have some flexibility in that to get some work done. And then self-assess. So are you also contributing or encouraging a distraction culture, both at home and at work? It might be really easy if you're at home to think of something like, oh my gosh, I need to talk to so-and-so about this, but they're busy working on homework or a project, and you want to tell them right away, but sometimes if they're really kind of focused on something, maybe that's not the right time to talk about it. So, writing it down, making a plan to connect with that. I know my husband loves to connect right as we're about to lay down. He'll start talking about a project that needs to get done, and that is distracting me from sleeping. So I have to say, oh, can you write that down and we can talk about it at another time, because I don't want to wake my brain up too much, so I can actually sleep. So it works at work and at home and for self-care as well. So just really assessing yourself to see if you're one that contributes and encourages the culture of distraction. So, did you know that 47% of the time our minds are lost in thoughts? Our brains are thought generators. They are meant to think. And so our brains can easily distract us. And that's not a bad thing. That can actually be a good thing. So here's a little saying: of all the things I've lost, I miss my mind the most. So how often are we just lost and kind of going down that rabbit hole of thought after thought? And that can always be an interesting thing. So, and then are you kind of a self distractor? So it's good to kind of check in with yourself. So we'll talk about that. So we're going to talk about your brain's wiring, and then talk about, are you bored or do you feel really engaged? And then I'm going to give you 7 non-techie ways to really boost your productivity. And then, everyone is different, so there might be something else that helps you. Checking my time. So our brain is wired to be a thought generator. It's meant to think. And so we want to work with our brains and not against our brains. And so, I last week I kind of talked about our primitive part of our brain, our lower part of our brain. It's we need that part. It's for reaction. It is meant to be emotional, and it's meant to react to things for survival. So we need that part of our brain. We just don't need that part of our brain to be so big that we react in a stressful way to even a thought and to everything that happens. So what we're doing is we're building pathways from our lower part up to our higher executive functioning part of our brain, our prefrontal cortex, that part of our brain that says all is well. And so even when we're thinking and thinking and thinking, we're building a pathway when we catch ourselves thinking and going, oh, okay, I really went down a rabbit hole in this. Now I'm going to bring myself back and really focus on what I'm doing. I think one of the best ways to do this is to retrain our brain in the realm of reading, like getting into a novel that you are really interested in. So the more that we read for fun, the easier it is to read and focus on other things that aren't so fun. And the research shows that the more we can focus on things that we really enjoy, and especially like literally hardback books, the more we're able to focus on other things. So the caveat is video games aren't something that elicits this focusing point on hard things. It tends to be the actual reading of books, and it does rewire the brain to be able to help focus on those harder things that we need to. So, but just working with our thoughts and our brain can be very important. A tip to counterbalance kind of all those thoughts is to do nothing. Like, our minds are going a million miles an hour. We have thought after thought. We have a list of things to do in our mind. We have a list of things to do on paper. We have all these things. So sometimes just doing nothing, maybe going out to the woods, getting some good old vitamin N, and just sitting on a rock and just being, sometimes can be the best thing for our brain to just calm down. And practice mindfulness by just being in the moment, being in this place, focusing on what's right in front of you, focusing on whatever you're doing, even if it's like a shower, like focus on a shower. I teach a lot of mindfulness, and I had a doctor take one of my courses, and we talked about just being in the moment and knowing, what are you doing? What are you, what's the next step and what are you doing? And she came back and said, I finally was mindful in the shower, and I think in the past, I don't even know if I use shampoo first or conditioner first, or maybe I was using body wash for shampoo. I my mind was always somewhere else, and I was just, you know, taking a shower to quickly take a shower. And she said the night before was the first time she actually like looked at the shower or looked at the shampoo bottle and like shampooed her hair, and then the conditioner, and then the body wash. And she was like, oh, it definitely felt better to her to just be in that moment of a shower. Something that we kind of can take for granted, but those mundane things tend to get easy, and we do it subconsciously, that when we bring in the consciousness to that, we might learn something about ourselves. So it's kind of an interesting phenomenon. So the next one is, are you bored? Especially when it relates to, are you your own self-sabotager? So we're looking at if you have a low challenge level in what you're doing, and also and it's low on your skill, like you need to have a higher skill level. Because you do have a higher skill level, what happens is you get kind of apathetic about it. It's like, oh, you're just kind of going through the motions. And then as we go up, if the level of skill is low for you, but the challenge goes up, then you get into worry. And then as the challenge goes up, we get into anxiety. And then as we go up, the challenge level goes up, is low, but our skill level is kind of in the medium. You can see that it's more boredom. And then as we move across the board, then if the challenge level is low but our skill level is high, we're more relaxed. And then on the flip side, you can see there's arousal, flow, control. And so our ultimate goal is to have a high skill level for what we're doing, and then have the challenge, have whatever we're doing being challenging enough that we're just enjoying what we're doing and we're in the flow. And that's kind of where the ultimate goal is, to be kind of just flow. So kind of thinking about that, are you bored with what you're doing? Then we want to kind of increase the challenge level, and also make sure that we're meeting you right where you need to be for your skill level as well. So this is kind of something to think about, and really bring that awareness and reflect on it, to say, okay, am I living my best life by being challenged, and then increasing maybe a skill that you want to improve upon. And it can be very, very powerful, and feeling really, really good and not bored. So what can we do about that? So the goal is to just seek opportunities that move you away from the boredom. Like I had mentioned, like dig in, whatever it is, really want to focus on it, get it done. And sometimes that can actually increase the challenge level, is to just really dig in and really make it your own and do the best you can. And then refine any business skill, hobby, other skills, anything that you really want to do, just delving into that. And that really comes at a good place when you're saying yes to everything, maybe saying no to those things that you really don't want to do, and then say yes to those things that really kind of spark your interest. And if it's a hobby or skill that you've wanted to learn, that can really help with that boredom. And then getting away from it all, taking a vacation, a weekend trip, and just doing something completely different can help. And then engaging in complementary activities. So if you like to crochet, then kind of picking up the knitting aspect. So it's kind of a little bit harder, and it's kind of the example is, it's whatever you do, can you do something similar, but it also complements what you currently do. And then change your perspective on it. That can be a really good thing to think about as it relates to what's going on in your life. There's a lot that I can't do right now with three boys, and I know that. And so my perspective is that I really want to be in this moment with them. I know they're growing up and they're going to be gone soon. My youngest is 11. And so I know I only have 7 years left with him. And that just, that's going to go by so fast. And my oldest is 16. And so he, you know, he'll be an adult in a couple of years. So I'm just looking at, it's a good to just kind of look at where you are and know the things that you can change and know the things that you can't change, and really working with those things that you can change, to just really be in the moment when you can. So let's talk about the 7 non-techie ways to boost your productivity. And so these are the things that can really help your brain out and help you focus better and help you be the healthiest that you can be. And the first one is to really balance your breakfast with protein. So oftentimes in America, we tend to eat high carbs, like cereal and bagels and pancakes and things like that. In other countries, they eat more vegetables and eggs and meat for breakfast, because the research shows that those high, starchy foods are actually tell our brain that, okay, it's time to rest. And so you'll see here, we'll, eat our high starchy foods in the morning, and then in Italy, they'll eat more of their spaghetti and bread at night. And so we know that's kind of a better way to do it, is to eat more of our starchy foods at night. It kind of tires out the brain when we eat them so early in the morning. So the ultimate goal is to get some protein. So you can take a look at the chart and find your recommended dietary allowance for protein and how much protein are you getting in the morning, and or basically all day. So and kind of looking at that to say, okay, divide that by 3, and then go with that for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So getting some protein with your breakfast. The next one is just avoiding carbs at lunch and at breakfast. And so we're looking at that 3 o'clock slump where, we're feeling pretty good and we eat lunch, and then we're just feeling so exhausted we need to take a siesta. And so some other countries definitely do. We don't often have that luxury to, take a nap at mid-afternoon. So just experimenting with this, maybe having your regular, if you eat carbs for lunch for 1 week, and then try it without the next week, and try something, something a little bit different without the high carbs. Just see how you feel. For some people, nothing will change. For other people, they'll notice a vast difference in their energy level. The number 3rd way is to get up and move. We know that just getting up, maybe using the bathroom that's furthest away, or taking a quick walk around the block in the middle of the day can really make a huge difference. And if you are up on your feet most of the day, then I'm definitely getting a different some stretches in, or sitting down, getting your feet up for even 5 minutes can make a huge difference in your energy and boost your productivity. So it goes both ways. So get up and move if you tend to sit all day, and then if you tend to stand and work all day, then make sure that you get those feet up for a few minutes. The next one is getting enough sleep. Sleep is so very, very important. Sleep is a time where our body really, really heals. It's when all of our memories get filed into short-term and long-term memories. All of our hormones get balanced out, or especially our ghrelin and leptin. Our ghrelin is that hormone that helps us balance out our appetite, and our leptin helps us burn fat for fuel. So if we're not getting enough sleep, then we have a harder time controlling our appetite, because our brain needs more energy, and so our appetite will be that much heartier, and then we'll have a hard time burning fat for fuel. So sleep is medicine. It's so very important to get good quality sleep, and the amount of sleep is different for everybody. So quality over quantity sometimes is okay. And then being hydrated is so important for your whole body, your mind and body, and just overall wellness. So making sure that you're getting enough to drink, and that depends on the person as well. So just there's different ways to figure out if you've had enough water, and you can go by thirst, but sometimes sometimes that doesn't work for people, and experimenting with this too. Trying to get just the awareness of how much water you're currently getting, and maybe adding a glass or two a day, and next week adding a couple more glasses, just to see if it makes a big difference for you, and see where you feel the best as it relates to hydration. And then the sixth thing is admit when you're procrastinating. So here is one of those wonderful motivation pictures, and it says procrastination on it, and it says I'll find a picture for it later. So admit when you're procrastinating, and it can be a very powerful tool to admit it, because procrastination can so some people will say, well, I work better under pressure, and we know that sometimes that can cause more stress if we put things off for too long. So to find a picture for this, it would take, remember, like I said, we try to finish those 3-second to 3-minute things first to kind of get those things off of your list. Here's one of them, to just get it done, and do your best, because if we start a project early, oftentimes what happens, the hardest part about starting a project is starting it. Because once you're in it, and once you have everything organized and you're ready to go, it's smooth sailing. But usually starting is the hardest thing. The seventh thing is, just organizing not only your space, but organizing your calendar. So appointments, deadlines, goals, setting those on a regular basis, and just seeing what works for you and what doesn't. So our minds are not meant to remember so many different things. So having a little a little piece of paper by you, or a little notebook, so you can actually write things down. It does amazing things for our brain. Our brain relaxes a little bit and goes, okay, it's all right there. I don't have to have it constantly in my mind to remember, because our brains sometimes aren't the best at remembering. There's tools that you can use to increase that memory. But when you have so much other things on our mind, it's okay to give our brain a break and write it down. So when we're looking at distractions, remember I had mentioned that it can be a good thing. If you're distracted due to some anxiety, or need to distract yourself due to some chronic pain, it can be a really good thing. So awareness is key on everything. So you'll probably hear me say awareness all the time, because awareness is key. When we know better, we can do better. And when we know what's working for us and what isn't, then we can know, and we can figure it out. And then that balance between making sure that we're really taking care of ourselves in self-care, and we're really taking care of ourselves in our work and our home life, and have that balance between distractions and getting our work done. And then assessment, of course, what is working for you, and what isn't, and assess what works for you, can be a very powerful tool. And then action. So once you kind of have all those things down, you can take action to make things easier for you as it relates to avoiding distractions and using distractions for your advantage. So any questions? I know I kind of went through things a little fast. We still have 15 minutes. So any questions on this, or any examples on different things that you've had help you with distractions? I'm actually going to stop recording.